Hello everyone, welcome back to Odds Now. This is the latest video for all our betting preview content ahead of the European Championships in Germany this summer. As you can see by the title, this video will be focusing on Group A, taking a closer look at all the teams involved and how things might pan out. Please remember to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content and what we talk about here today, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more betting preview across the European Championships this summer. Before we get into things, I am joined by Matt on screen. First of all, Matt, how are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Really looking forward to the Euros now. Getting stuck into all this betting preview content's just sort of whet the appetite. So yeah, looking forward to it.
And as you can see along the bottom of the screen now, the four teams in this group: Germany, Switzerland, Hungary, Scotland. Germany, the hosts, of course, Matt, as well. Do you want to talk us through them first of all and how you think they'll fare at the tournament, the first home tournament since 2006?
Yeah, interesting to see how they get on. I found them quite a tough team to assess, really, because, you know, on the one hand, the home advantage, it does bring obvious advantages of the support and, you know, the familiar surroundings for the players. But I think you've also got to factor in the added pressure. You know, there's a lot of scrutiny around this team now and a lot of scrutiny around Julian Nagelsmann, the manager. He should be up to the job. I mean, he's had big jobs before, you know, Leipzig, Bayern Munich. He's used to being in the spotlight. So I don't think this is going to phase him, but this will be an experience that, you know, few managers ever go through in their career, you know, being a manager at a home tournament. I suppose Gareth Southgate kind of had it at Euro 2020, even though England weren't the official hosts. And, you know, the country really does get swept up in it. And I think it will bring more pros than cons for Germany. Some interesting, you know, results that led to Hansi Flick getting sacked. And then when Nagelsmann came in, he didn't make an immediate impact. It was rocky for quite a while. And, you know, you look at this Germany team on the face of it, you look at some of the squad players, you may think, oh, they're not as strong as they have been in recent years. But I think some of the players that have come into this side actually tie in really nicely with the way Nagelsmann wants to play. I mean, he wants to play a high line. He wants to be on the front foot, possession based. Jonathan Tah's had a fantastic season at Bayer Leverkusen. Very quick centre half, used to playing in a high line under Xabi Alonso, used to having a lot of the ball and sort of starting the attacks from centre back. And I think Nagelsmann will try and use Tah in a similar vein here for Germany. He's brought back Toni Kroos into the frame at international level. Kroos retired after Euro 2020 when Germany went out to England in the last 16. But he's convinced him to come back. And Kroos has recently said it's just for this tournament and then he's going to re-retire for the second time. But I think that's a bit of a masterstroke, you know, because we've seen him at Real Madrid. He's still as good as he ever was. Yeah, he's at the twilight of his career now, but he's not on the decline really, and he's still capable of running the midfield. And I think if you get the legs and energy around him, he's still a world-class operator in that midfield. And then I guess my area of concern with Germany is going to be going forward. Little bit light, lacking a number 9. Kai Havertz probably going to play there occasionally, I would think, as sort of a false 9, as we've seen him do for Chelsea and Arsenal, with varied success. You know, I'd say he had a good season for Arsenal. Certainly struggled with Chelsea before that. It's not ideal to be going in with Havertz as your number 9. The alternative they do have is a more traditional number 9 in Niklas Füllkrug, but you know, you wouldn't quite call him prolific. He's not the easiest on the eye. You know, he is a little bit of a throwback, a big target man striker. You know, you look at some of the other teams in this tournament, and they have the likes of Harry Kane and you know, France have got several world-class number 9s that they could call upon. You know, that is where I think people are going to see Germany falling down. Puts a lot of pressure on the attacking midfielders to score, but they have got serious quality in attacking midfield there. I think Florian Wirtz, fantastic player, had another one that's had a fantastic season at Bayer Leverkusen. There'll be a lot of onus on him to perform, and I think he will. Ilkay Gundogan, we remember him from his Manchester City days here in England, but he's continued to be a class act for Barcelona. And then Musiala as well, fantastic talent in that Bayern Munich side. You know, so they do have players capable of chipping in with the goals and stepping up to the plate. And if they get the momentum going, they could be tough to stop. If they top this group, they'll probably avoid England and France. They'll end up on the opposite side of the draw to England and France. And I think that's a fairly decent chance of them making the final in that case. But as we know, the groups don't always go to plan. So they've still got to negotiate this group first.
How much of the results in March. I think they got wins over the likes of France and Holland, didn't they? And friendlies, big wins as well. Like you said, their form was very shaky before then. How much or are those wins forming part of your optimism, perhaps, of how they're faring in the summer? Obviously, it's a home tournament as well.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's always good to see them. When you're trying to assess a side, you want to see them playing against the top nations, really, because these are the crunch games. And even still, it's impossible to replicate that feeling of tournament football where it is the ultimate sort of do or die knockout. You have to factor in nerves and the occasion and all this and if I'm looking at just the raw performances, I thought it was a real step in the right direction in terms of the style of play. When Nagelsmann first came in, there was a lot of players questioning his, could realistically a team at international level where you're only meeting up for 10 days or 2 weeks at a time, did they have time to grasp that style of play that he's trying to implement? Well, I thought these 2 games were the first time where we've really seen evidence of it becoming a Nagelsmann team. And, they'll have another couple of friendlies before the tournament starts. And it's just more time to bed in that style of play. And in the group stage, they're going to look at their opposition and think these are 3 teams where we can dominate possession, we can push a little bit higher up the field, and they will leave themselves a little bit vulnerable at times. We saw even Nagelmann's Bayern Munich side were a little bit vulnerable at the back, but what they do tend to do is carve out lots of chances. And I honestly think if they get rolling with the home advantage as well, they may prove difficult to stop. And I understand why people lean more towards England and France in terms of the personnel available. But I think if you factor in home advantage, the squad balance, the caliber of the manager, Germany have got a really, really strong chance this summer.
Yeah, like you said, the draw could be favourable to them as well if they do top the group. We'll move on to the second team in this group. That is Switzerland. They're well established at major tournaments as well in terms of qualifying on a regular basis. How do you think they'll fare in Germany this summer?
Well, Switzerland, compared to Hungary and Scotland, they're regulars at tournaments and they've been here and done it before, and they've got plenty of experience in this squad still. I mean, I think when you think of Switzerland, you think of Xherdan Shaqiri, who just, seems to have been going for about 30 years, but he's still in his 20s or something, so it's, he's got vast experience at tournaments, always seems to deliver at tournaments as well. Granit Xhaka in central midfield, obviously a good player for Arsenal, has turned into a great player in this Leverkusen side, as we say, for so many of their players this season. So they have got a good core of experience there. But if you take a little dig into Switzerland's qualifying campaign, it was pretty dire. They limped through what was a poor qualifying group, some really poor results in there. Yakin was coming under quite intense pressure at times. Murat Yakin, the manager, he's been there a little while. He's managed to ride out this wave of pressure. The Swiss FA actually were forced to kind of come out and throw their support behind him because the public were demanding that he would be sacked, which is never a good sign coming into a tournament. You want the country united and you want the manager to feel like if they need to change things or take a risk, they can do that, whereas I'm getting a sense that if he puts a lineup out in this first game and it goes wrong, the fans are going to be turning on them very quickly, questioning what's going on. I could see this, ultimately, you have to say they've got a good experienced core, more so than Hungary and Scotland. And if those players come to the fore, they'll probably be fine. But there is also elements here which makes me think this could blow up and end up being a disastrous tournament for them if they don't get off to a good start. It's going to be all on the first couple of games for me.
Yeah, like you said, Shaqiri always seems to come up with a screamer, doesn't he, every tournament that you think down the years of all the tournaments that have taken place. Onto another side, Hungary, as well. I think you were full of praise in the written team guides you've produced on the website, which we'll link in the description below. How do you think they'll fare in Germany this summer?
Yeah, you said it. I'm really, really encouraged and impressed by this team. I just think there's so many elements that you'd be looking for in a team that you want to sort of get behind in the market. that I like here. Their form over a sustained period has been really, really good. They're on a clear upward trajectory. You can clearly see them getting better on a sort of game-by-game basis. Quite a tight group, not too many egos in there, no real superstars. I suppose Szoboszlai from Liverpool would be the name that would jump off the page to most neutrals, but, they're really built on a core of solid pros who, just are very good at doing their job. They've got a lot of emerging talent and a lot of seasoned campaigners who've played in leagues like the Bundesliga, Serie A for 5-6 years and are just like really consummate pros. And then their biggest plus, I think, is the manager Marco Rossi. He's an Italian, ended up going into Hungarian football domestically at first, which was a bit of an odd move, but then since then he's really embedded himself into the Hungarian sort of culture. He's like a hero over there, really, for what he's achieved with the national team. They were really unlucky when they qualified for the last Euros. They went out in the groups, but they got put in a group with France, Germany and Portugal, and they really held their own. Draws with France and Germany, lost late to Portugal, 0-0 after 80 minutes. So really showed that they can go with the best at major tournaments. And that's, no flash in the pan. As I wrote about, the Nations League campaigns have been sensational, topping a group with Russia and Turkey to get into that top tier, and then following it up in a group with England, Italy and Germany. They did the double over England. They beat Germany in Germany, which they might fancy doing again this summer. There's just a lot to like about them, and I think the price really doesn't factor in that element. I do understand that they haven't gone and done it at a major tournament in terms of results yet, and they maybe don't have the pedigree of other sides. But for all the things I say about Switzerland potentially, blowing up and having a disaster, I do think there's a real chance that this Hungary side, if they just produce the kind of performances we've seen from them for the last 2 years, they could really go on a deep run in this tournament. I do fancy them. I'm sure we'll come on to that, but I do fancy them to go on a little bit of a run.
Yeah, before we move on to the final team, you've mentioned Szoboszlai there is the man who stands out in that Hungary squad. He started well for Liverpool, I think, and he had the injury which set him back, and he struggled really to rebuild that momentum. How important will he be if they are to do, as you say, and to enjoy a decent run in Germany?
Yeah, he will be very important. He's definitely, someone that Rossi has put a lot of focus on as, a leader for his side and stuff. So there is that element to it. But I do think that this Hungary team has been built on not being reliant on one player. Anyone who remembers them from the previous tournament, they used to have a big striker, Shalai, who's since retired, and they've now got like 3 or 4 different strikers all vying to lead the line, and none of them are sort of like at a big European club, but when they play for their country, they've got a really good, scoring record and really good performance level. And Rossi just seems to be able to get players to lift their base level. There seems to be a real pride in playing for the nation and stuff. So I do think Szoboszlai is going to be key if they're going to go deep, because, as you get deeper into a tournament, winning the midfield battle is crucial, and he's going to be the man that's going to win that midfield battle for them potentially. When he's been at his best for Liverpool, admittedly the injury has certainly curtailed that in recent months. It's the all energy nature of him. He covers so much ground, throws himself into tackles, not shy of shooting from range as well. He's a very rounded midfielder, so he is very, very important to them. But I would think that you will see a side here where there's a lot of unsung heroes there, similar ilk to what Morocco were at the World Cup, I suppose, where they had a couple of household names, but there was quite a sharing of the load amongst the team, and just a united nation, which is what I think we're going to see with Hungary. I don't want to build them up too much, because they do still have to. This is a tough group. Let's not lie. This is possibly the toughest group other than Group B, which has got Spain, Croatia, and Italy in. So it's going to be tough for them. But I think if they hit their base level, they'll come through this group, and nobody would want to be playing this team in the last 16. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I agree. And now on to the final team in the group, rather. That is Scotland, of course, who managed to qualify. Talk us through them, Matt. How are you thinking they're going to go into this tournament?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Carlisle, just 5 miles from the Scottish border. So, I know a lot of Scottish friends, Scottish people. Good to have them at the tournament. I think they bring a bit to it, with the fans, and Yeah, I was a bit disappointed with them at Euro 2020, to be honest. I thought they'd maybe make an effort of getting out of that group, but Steve Clarke, let's give him some credit first, because he's had like a managerial career where he's never landed like top jobs, but where he's gone in, he's always overperformed, and I think he earned this crack at a big job. And to qualify Scotland for back-to-back international tournaments when they haven't qualified this millennium, that deserves a lot of praise on its own, regardless of how they do this summer. But like I said, disappointed a little bit at Euro 2020, and I think there's now a bit of an expectation from the fans that they go for it a little bit more this time, and have a bit of a go, even if they go down fighting, kind of thing. So whether Clarke will bow into that sort of expectation will be interesting. He's quite a fiery character and he sticks to his principles. So I don't think he will necessarily think, okay, I've got to let the handbrake off here. He'll stick to his principles. And this Scotland side are well drilled, well organised. Similar ilk to Hungary, not a lot of superstars. Couple of big recognisable names like Andy Robertson, Liverpool fullback, and they do have some players. John McGinn at Aston Villa, McTominay at Man United, but not world class superstars, but really established Premier League players. They're going to be key for them, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. I think this is a bad draw for Scotland. In a weaker group, if they'd ended up in Group F, I'd have been, thinking they could get through into the knockouts. But unfortunately for them, they play the first game of the tournament against Germany. Well, you can imagine what the crowd's going to be like and the atmosphere of that game. For an entire nation waiting for the tournament to kick off. I'm sure they'd be relishing the chance of upsetting them, and there's no pressure on them in that game. But realistically, you're fearing that they might get, 2 or 3 put past them, and then it's an uphill task from there, isn't it? I think that second game with Switzerland is going to be absolutely crucial for them, and I do think they can get a result there, and then that might take things to the last game against Hungary, who obviously I've talked up a little bit. I do think they'll be a tough ask for Scotland to beat. But one thing you would say with this Scotland side, they've got very good at big competing. They don't get rolled over. Scotland sides of old, they would have got spanked 4 or 5-0 off a big team. Now, you always kind of think they're going to give as good as they get. So I expect them to put up a good showing, but maybe getting out of the group is a stretch.
In terms of talking about getting out of the group now, we can look for our predictions for Group A. I'll pull them up onto the screen there. As you can see, Scotland, you've put them third. I've backed them to finish bottom, which probably won't go down well with people north of the border. But do you want to talk us through that briefly, Matt, based off everything you said so far?
Yeah, I'm sure you got a vibe that was kind of where I was going. Switzerland being bottom, it is just a bit of a value play, really, as I'll come on to in my best bets. I'm not saying that they're going to finish bottom, but I just think they have the possibility to implode a little bit at this tournament. They've got I didn't mention Manuel Akanji, who's obviously been fantastic for Man City as well. So they have got a bit of class compared to Scotland and Hungary. But I just don't like the vibe around the manager and the fans and going into it. I think it could go a bit sour potentially. I would worry for whoever finishes third in this group, to be honest, because if it is to be Scotland and Switzerland, I could quite easily see them playing out a draw, losing to the other two. And then, 1 point probably won't be enough for anyone to go through in third. It's the 4 highest third place sides out of 6 groups. Yeah. So if you win a game, you're probably through. You'd be unlucky to go out on 3 points, but 2 or 1 point maybe not going to be enough. So you do have to go for the win. Maybe that'll play into Scotland's favour and that they just have to go for it. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, as I'll move on to shortly, I think Hungary to qualify looks a really attractive bet. But yeah, I'd be surprised if Germany didn't top the group, and I know you've gone the same there.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but when I was putting these predictions in, I was quite confident in the top 2, and it was just a case then who would finish third out of the other 2. Like you said, there 4 of the 6 third place sides will go through to the knockout stages. And I think you touched on it earlier, that match between Scotland and Switzerland. I think that's the second match for both of them, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It could be a cagey affair, because you have to think that if they've both lost their opener, you don't want to lose again, or you're really up against it. So wouldn't be that surprised to see that one finish in a draw.
It could be absolutely vital, like you said. We'll go on now to your best bets. Like you said, you've touched on a couple of them there, which should be on screen now. Do you want to talk us through those?
Yeah, well, actually, one that's not on the screen as well that I will just give a mention to. You just mentioned it there, and it's something I agree with. Germany and Hungary as the top two is 10-3. So that might be worth a look as well if you do agree that Hungary is sort of best placed to come in second behind the hosts. Yeah, I've tried to pick one out for each team here. Florian Wirtz is a player who, like I say, with the lack of a number 9 for Germany, if they are going to go deep in the tournament, he's the kind of player that's going to have to step up to the plate, and he's well teed up to. He's had a little bit of experience at international level now. He's been in and around the team for the last year or two. Nagelsmann's really bedded him in that attacking midfield role where he has thrived for Leverkusen this year. As many goals as he has assists, he really is one of the best playmakers in world football at the moment. Home tournament, a lot to like about him having a big summer, I think, and 40-1 seems big for me. I think 40-1 player of the tournament and 6-1 young player. I back both. If they win it, I think he'd be player of the tournament. But the young player, sometimes you don't even have to win it; you just have to have a few impressive performances. So, I think get both covered there would be my approach. As I say, Hungary, to qualify, I'm really confident on this 4-5. I think it's a really good bet for if you're having to looking to have a little accumulator on the groups or something. Definitely would include that because 3 points probably going to be enough to get through. I'd be really surprised if they don't win at least one game in this group. And then in the individual team goal scorer markets, which I've really enjoyed looking through, I just thought Scott McTominay was way too big at 8-1. Yeah. He scored 7 times in qualifying, including a brace against Spain. Scotland plays a lot further forward for Scotland than he does for Man United. And even in Man United, he's popped up with some big goals for them this season. He's a bit of an unheralded player, McTominay. Maybe not the most fashionable sort of attacking midfielder around, but he knows how to finish. And in a Scotland team that, their 3 striking options are not setting the world alight in terms of goals. You don't really know who's going to start. Perhaps Lyndon Dykes, perhaps Lawrence Shankland if they roll the dice a little bit, but neither of them would strike fear into you on the international scene in terms of goal scoring. Whereas McTominay, like I say, there was only the likes of Harry Kane, Romelu Lukaku outscored him in qualifying. I think he was 4th in the scoring charts out of every country. So 8-1 about him to be Scotland's top scorer. I mean, he might score once. That might be their only goal of the tournament, and you might get an 8-1 winner. So it's got to be worth a little play that for me. And then, as I mentioned, Switzerland. I'm not saying they will finish bottom. I'm just saying there is the potential here for it to go wrong. So I think 9-2, very fair, and taking a chance on things to maybe unravel a little bit. As I say, maybe a draw with Scotland in that first game, and then. If they do draw and it is them 2 going for bottom place, well, it's going to go down to goal difference, and Switzerland's last game would be against Germany. So you maybe don't want to be playing Germany if you're fighting to stay in it. Would be my hunch. But yeah, some a nice range of prices there, so there should be something for everybody.
Yeah, and like you said, there's plenty of value on that screen. I agree with McTominay. 8-1 is wild considering the qualifying campaign. Like you said, he scored some big goals for United as well. Let us know your thoughts.
About half that price, to be honest. I thought it'd be about 4-1. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't put anyone off that.
When you sent me that over, obviously you sent me the previews before we clicked the video. I had to go and have a look. I thought, who else has Scotland got that scores goals? I can't think of anyone off the top of my mind. I assumed there'd be someone above him, but there wasn't. Yeah, it's a strange one.
If you're watching this video, get on, and that price will be gone.
Exactly. Make the most of it. Take advantage of that. That does conclude our preview for the teams in Group A. Let us know what your thoughts in the comment down below, how you think the 4 sides will get on. You can check out all of our other betting preview content on the channel as well, which will be produced over the next couple of days in weeks ahead of the tournament and during the tournament itself. Like I said, we'll be back soon to conclude all the 5 other groups. Thank you for your time today, Matt. We'll see how you get on in terms of all the picks. Fingers crossed that we get a few in the bag. And you can check out the website as well for all our written content, which we will stick in the description below. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in the next video.